Well, it's time now for a look at the day's top business stories. And with that, I'm joined in the studio by Brian Quinn. Hi, Brian.
Yeah, exactly.
We're starting in the US, where the Federal Reserve has just issued some fairly impressive predictions for the US economy.
Indeed, America's central bank says the country is likely headed for its strongest economic growth in nearly 4 decades as it emerges from the coronavirus crisis. Fed Chief Jerome Powell brushing aside fears of inflation in an overheated economy as the bank keeps its foot on the gas to try and ensure a full recovery. Shirley Sitbon has the details.
It's a growth figure the U.S. hasn't seen in almost 40 years. The Federal Reserve forecasts the economy will expand this year by 6.5%. by 3.3% next year and 2.2% in 2023. But the Fed says it's planning to keep its benchmark interest rate near zero and maintain monthly bond purchases.
These measures, along with our strong guidance on interest rates and our balance sheet, will ensure that monetary policy will continue to deliver powerful support to the economy until the recovery is complete.
For the Federal Reserve, U.S. stimulus packages pushed by President Joe Biden and his predecessor Donald Trump averted an even worse blow. The drop in the numbers of new COVID infections and the encouraging rollout of vaccination is a key factor for the recovery. But will the Fed's decision to maintain the interest rate low push up inflation? Some forecasts show it could hit 2.4% this year, beyond the Fed's 2% target. For Powell, such a jump would only be temporary. While the outlook is optimistic in the U.S., the EU and Japan aren't forecasting such a strong recovery just yet. The European Central Bank foresees a 4% growth for the bloc, and the Japanese economy is expected to grow by 3.6%. Both are expected to actually contract in the first quarter. The Fed has said U.S. demand could help jumpstart those economies.
So, Brian, what sort of reaction have we been seeing on the markets?
Well, HAXI European indexes opened higher across the board. That following record closes for the Dow and the S&P on Wall Street as investors react favorably to those Fed policy decisions, particularly on interest rates. The FTSE in London up slightly, while the CAC 40 here is up around 0.4%. The Frankfurt DAX up around 0.2% at the open. Expanding U.S. demand is also expected to help boost those lagging economies, as we heard, particularly Japan's. The Nikkei in Tokyo finished the day up just over 1%. Chinese markets charging ahead as well. Hong Kong's Hang Seng up 1.2%. Caspian Seoul up 0.6% at the close.
Now, finally, for business, Brian, here in France, while we're waiting for our vaccine, testing, of course, remains critical, and that hopefully is about to get a fair bit easier.
Yeah, I hope so. France's Medicines Agency is expected to give final authorization for the use of self-administered home COVID testing kits within the coming days. Manufacturers already reporting soaring demand. One company based in Alsace says it's ready to rise to the challenge. Luke Schrager reports.
Meet the latest weapon to go into the arsenal in the fight against COVID. Self-testing kits are now one step closer to going on sale in France, following on from Germany, Austria, the UK and the Netherlands. Biocinex specializes in testing kits and has seen demand go through the roof.
Nous allons arriver devant la machine mise en route début janvier.
The firm's invested €3 million in bringing production to eastern France. But with the new kits now given the green light, the pressure is on.
La machine va tourner encore plus qu'avant. Et donc pour ça, j'ai besoin de main-d'œuvre supplémentaire. Donc des emplois vont être créés pour tourner sur une équipe, 2 équipes, 3 équipes.
Biocinex took on an extra 50 people in just a week, with 200 extra part-timers planned who'll be boxing the tests up. The main difference here is in the nasal swab. It's far less intrusive than those taken by health professionals.
On n'a rien changé dans la structure du test. On a fait d'autres études, effectivement, pour être sûr de valider les performances de sensibilité et de spécificité avec un prélèvement nasal.
The company is already placed to pump out 1.5 million of its new units from next week, though logistics are still being brought into place as it waits for the final go-ahead from France's Medicines Agency.
On attend en effet l'approbation, la validation de nos tests. Et on attend de savoir où ça va être vendu, en pharmacie, en grande surface.
The tests will cost less than €10 each, with competition with other firms already in the wings. They're seeking to bring their own versions to market.